So non-duality does not mean that there is no diversity. It does not mean that there's no potential of infinite whatevers. Um, but it does mean that there's no exclusion. So when we try to exclude something by thinking of it, or we try to rid ourselves of something by thinking of it, what we miss is that thought is essentially acting as like a line that's splitting the screen. We'll use the screen of awareness analogy here. So thought is a line that's splitting the screen, and it's differentiating in some way. And we're the creativity behind that line, and we're the creativity of the screen, the creative potential of it all. So when we believe that we are a separate self and that there's a world and different forces can enact themselves on us, and that we can act in certain ways to achieve and to get things in the world, then we're willing to think thoughts that exclude and that we know by feeling and emotions when we're putting ourselves in there, when we're excluding something somehow. And we ignore it because we believe that we're going to get something in the future, which past and future is another exclusion. We miss that we are always the line, not the line itself, but the creative power behind the line. So there's a few ways and a few like kind of core beliefs, if you will, that make this seem so. One is the idea of possession. So I can have things. I am this, and so I am this body. I possess this body, and I also can possess stuff that's out there, which is super interesting. And totally runs away from the present moment, in which it's all... it's really hard to explain. But it's obvious that that is just not the case. Like when you take it to now, and you take it to what's absolutely most normal and most mundane, it's seeing that what we think is mundane and what we already know really is not at all how we think that the world is functioning whatsoever. So we have the idea that we can own things that are outside of us. And of course, this is an idea. And it's a helpful idea, like when you write your name in Sharpie marker on a cup, and then you don't like forget like whose drink is whose. But a lot of suffering can come with the idea of possession, like insecurity about our looks, or the other ones get wrapped up in this too. So the next one is value and worth. So the things that I have, or the things that I have done, or the things that I have achieved, or how I look like, or what people think of me, or my reputation, or how my friends are, or how my spouse is, or whatever, all reflects upon my value and my worth. So possessions and value and worth are kind of, I don't know how these cards are stacked up. I'm not going to say which one is on top of the other, dependent on the other. But then striving for worth. So missing that this is a worth, this creative, this is it. Like, there's nothing that I can achieve out there, nothing I can possess of any worth, nothing I can become of any worth, because I am this creative power behind it. And all this is sort of like a line that I'm drawing. Magical though it seems, that magic is only borrowed from the creative magic of the screen, of the creative power, of whatever you want to call it. So with value and worth, we have to have the idea of limitation to understand value and worth. So rarity and scarcity, we need these concepts. We need to draw some lines. in order to assign values to things. And so if something is rare, then it's more valuable. But in reality, there's no limitation, because just like I'm the one drawing the line, I can't find the borders. It's infinite diversity. And it's not stuff I can have out there either. This creative power is inherently completely unlimited. And so this stuff out there is unlimited as well. And again, taking it back to now, taking it back to feeling, taking it back to the meditation. Where's the limitation? Where's the line? Where are the walls? Where's the border of the universe? Where's the border of your peripheral vision? Go to find it, and you're just looking at another point of focus. So the last one that I have written down, if there are more, please share in the comments, is cause. So something out there can cause me to feel bad. Or something I do can cause somebody else to feel bad, which can be intelligence, and which can also be a lot of suffering that we take on ourselves, thinking that we have to act a certain way in order to be loved by a certain group of people who aren't even paying attention to us whatsoever, and would love nothing more than for us to realize our own creative power. So I explained through possession, limitation, value, worth, and cause and effect in like a negative light. So how are these creative? So possession, of course, I spent $14 for an embroidery kit, and now I have this embroidery kit in my house so that I can create moths and butterflies, this project that I want to do. So it's something that I'm creating with. And literally everything you possess is something you're creating with. Land, your home, it's something you're creating in, something you're creating with. And I think that I love Marie Kondo's method of seeing if something sparks joy. If you love and appreciate it, it means that you're creating with it. And if you're no longer, then it's time to release it and let somebody else create with that. And so if we look at possession in that way, it doesn't mean that we have to like totally change our political structure and nobody gets to own anything anymore. It just, we understand that we are a steward of absolutely everything. And maybe we take more, but in appreciating things more, we don't have as much like fast fashion and just like disposable one-time use kind of things when we realize we're all of it. Limitation. Ooh, I love this one. I love this one because I love limitation. It's like having a limited palette. I forget what this is called in art. So you might pick like one single color to use with white and black to do your painting. And you have to become a lot more creative and think and see in different ways in order to create that way. And sometimes, like, I don't exactly like recommend budgets, but sometimes like trying to save money for a week or something, you become really, really creative and really resourceful, and it's really fun to do. And sometimes like when the power goes out, you end up spending time with your family that normally playing games and stuff when normally you're stuck on screens. Limitation is a beautiful aspect of creation, and it's very fun to use. Like I regularly will like cut things out of my diet or just go without doing things, and it makes me feel even more free. So the next one is value and worth. Ooh, and this one is more like, with creation, it's more along the lines of intention and what you prefer to be doing. And when we realize that what we want, desire, so value and worth is really desire. It has that feeling behind it, that charge behind it, that it's for us. We don't care how anybody else values it. This is what we're doing, and we know for us. We can be so much more creative than when we think we need to make a certain amount of money, or live in a house that looks a certain way, or live in a certain area, or have a certain kind of family structure, societal structure, or whatever it is. We become free when we realize that what we love, and when we put feeling first, that's primary over value and worth. We're the creators of value and worth. We're so worthy. We're creating the very ideas of worth itself. And so using feeling guidance rather than just believing something has worth. Or I recently sold my car and kept being like, I sold it for, I should have tried to get more for it. But it was worth it to me to sell it sooner. And to somebody else who has more storage space for a vehicle, it's not. And we just become so much kinder to ourselves and enjoy life so much more when we don't try to find worth out there. And the last one is cause and effect. And so when we bring it down to realizing that the focus on the current thought in this moment is being responded to by emotions and feeling, and we have the power to drop our focus on that thought, to question that thought, to disbelieve that thought, to pick a thought that feels better, we can be like, we realize what Viktor Frankl realized in Man's Search for Meaning, that it's our focus, and it's not just, there can be like these circumstances that are horrible, but nobody can take our own focus from us. Here's another interesting way to look at cause and effect. So I often use the analogy of, you're not the character in the story, you're the author. So for the character in the story, the causes are much different. So for Harry Potter, the cause of his not having parents is Voldemort. But for J.K. Rowling, the cause of Harry Potter not having parents is much different. So when we can start to see cause and effect in our own lives from the author's point of view rather than the characters of who it's happening to, realize that the character is the creativity. Life just gets, I don't know. I keep telling you what's going to happen and what's going to happen, but I'm just telling you there's no cause and effect. So we'll leave it at that. Love you guys.